Don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Get ready for this.
Hi everyone, it's your girl Bebe Clement, and thank you once again for joining us for today's show. This is the Bebe Means Business Show, and this is your weekly show where you get all your tips, your advice, learn as much as you can, listen to great speakers. We have great guests on the show, knowledgeable guests about different aspects about business. You can learn anything and everything you ever wanted to know about business from this show. Instead of having to go and invest thousands and thousands of pounds on loads of seminars, just tune in every week on Tuesdays at 1:30 and you'll get all the information you need about the Bebe Means Business Show. If there are specific areas actually of business that you would like some information about or you'd like me to talk about, just let me know, and I will try my best to ensure that we do that and cater for your needs. Well, I want to thank everyone that has joined us every week. And last week was such a good show. Last week we were talking about how company through change. And as you well know, I mean, COVID-19 has probably been the greatest global change that has occurred and affected businesses throughout the world. But there are other kind of changes that can occur in your business that are not as dramatic, but still have a large bearing on morale of staff and the direction of the company that has to be handled with care. So I had my guest speaker last week with Remy Okeshola, who's the managing director of R&D Management Consulting. And it was really good to have him, and we were sharing tips on what you can do on ensuring that change is implemented with the least amount of interruption to your business and indeed, most importantly, to your staff. So just want to quickly give a summary of what we discussed last week and then we'll go on to what we want to talk about today. So we talked about how important it is to be able to give your staff direction when a change occurs. And we talked about the way to communicate the change to your staff is so important, because if you're not able to get the buy-in of your staff in relation to the change that you want to implement, knowingly or unknowingly, your staff will sabotage your change. And we spoke about the importance of understanding the kind of emotions that have to be overcome in order for your staff to buy into your change. And those include things like staff are afraid, they're anxious, they're unsure of themselves, they don't know what role they're going to have to play in the new change, they're not even sure whether the change is going to be effective, and that kind of thing. What does it mean for them as individual employees? That kind of thing. And the way you communicate the change and the way you implement the change throughout that period is vital in overcoming those fears and anxieties that the staff may have that may inadvertently affect the way that they do their job and they carry out your business in your name. So we spoke about implementing what I call a HIS strategy. And a HIS strategy is a high involvement strategy where staff feel that they're involved in the change that is occurring. It's not happening to them, it's happening with them. So when we get staff to believe and understand that this change is happening with them, it makes them feel less that they've lost control of their role, makes them feel more in control of what is happening. And that's really, really important to your staff. We talked about having a time frame, a specific time frame for the change. And we talked about you buying the change yourself, being understanding of the change and the role that you are playing in the change and sharing that with yourself. And what would you need to do to be able to measure whether this change has been worthwhile or whether it has been successful by way of business? So those kind of things are all that we discussed last week. For those of you who are just joining us, it's your host, Bebe Clement, and you are very welcome to the Bebe Means Business Show. Like I said, this is the show where you get to have all your questions answered in relation to something that we may discuss today that you want some advice on, you can send us in your question. It's a live show, so it's interactive, and you can hook up with us via Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @Star Radio UK, or you can text or WhatsApp on 07539 661 744, or email us at info@starradiouk, or join us via Facebook at Star Radio UK. So let's get down to what we want to talk about today. And I thought the last few weeks has been pretty intense, and the longer this whole COVID thing goes on, we're under a lot of pressure. There's a lot of anxiety about where is business going to go, what's happening. People are having to close down, lay off staff. So I thought today we'll just chill. For everybody that's watching, just breathe. So today I'm just going to be giving tips. Nothing too heavy happening up in here today. Just today I'm going to give tips for business success and wealth creation. That's what I'm going to be sharing today. So if you haven't already done so, tell a friend, quickly text a friend, let them know that we're on. Tips for business success and wealth creation. About your financial future, but you don't know what to do, I'll be sharing some tips that may help you. If there are problems on the horizon in relation to your business and you're looking for survival techniques, then this is the show for you. Okay, so let's look at some of the tips that I can give you. Right, the first one is something I'm really, really passionate about, and that's collaboration. Collaboration. Now, what has previously happened, particularly in the Black community, is everybody is doing their own little thing in their own little corner of the world. And we're struggling on our own, trying to make it work. And those of us who have been doing that for long enough, we realize that actually that can only get you so far. After a while, you realize that you cannot. It is counterproductive. And so you need to be looking to be collaborating. You must be looking to collaborate. So I'm going to be giving you little tips on how you can do that. Now, a few years ago, I had a colleague who was a wedding wedding conference organizer. So he organizes conferences about everything to do with weddings. So you'd have florists there, you'd have people who sold gowns, caterers, DJs, all this kind of thing. So there's a whole exhibition all about weddings and how to plan a wedding, that kind of thing. So he told me about it, and I'm a speaker, and weddings are they're not my area of expertise, but it was going to be quite a large, prestigious event, and I'm a strong believer that you don't pass an opportunity. So I was thinking, how can I be relevant in this thing that he was doing? So I said to him, would you mind me speaking about marriage? Because people spend a lot of energy preparing for the wedding, but the wedding is only one day. After the wedding, you got marriage. And I've always felt that if people spent more time, or as much time as they do in planning the wedding, on actually planning the marriage, then we probably have more successful marriages and less divorces. So I said to him, can I just do a 10-minute slot? I don't need more than that. Can I just do a 10-minute slot on tips for a successful marriage within the first 5 years? Something like that. So I was like, well, people are not really there to hear people speak, kind of thing. But I talked him into it. And in the end, he let me do it. And so I had also at his event, I had a stand, an exhibition stand, where I had my material, my DVDs, my CDs, that kind of thing. And so I gave this 10-minute talk. It wasn't anything heavy. It was just tips on things that I learned I wish people had told me in the early days of my marriage. And I just spoke on that. And I can honestly say it was the highlight of the event. People were just blown away. Now, the reason why I raised this is because that was an example of a collaboration. I don't normally speak about marriage, but he had a ready audience. They were the kind of market that I wanted to get into, and that gave me an avenue to get into this. So that was a brilliant collaboration. And of course, it made him look good, because it was something outside the box. You don't usually hear that kind of thing at a wedding vision. So it was something different. So again, it was a conversation topic after the event for him, and a lot of people he told me, a lot of people came back to him and said, "Oh, that was really good. We really enjoyed that. Could you do that at the next event?" So that's a collaboration. Now, collaborations don't necessarily have to be that large or that or like that. They can be something really simple. So it might be that you have a flyer, and let's say you're a lawyer, and you have the same client base as accountants. So it might well be that on the flyer, you have your details, you have your marketing material, so Augustine listed, and on the back of the flyer, somebody else, one of your colleagues who owns an accountancy firm, has their details as well. So you get to pitch to their clients, they get to pitch to your clients, and it's not cost either of you any more than it would normally do if you did one. In fact, if you put monies together, it would cost you even less. And then the advantage of that is somebody who perhaps wasn't necessarily thinking about a solicitor, was just thinking about an accountant, will see that and think, oh yes, well actually I do need a solicitor as well, and then we'll call you for your services. So that's an example of collaboration. Collaborations are very, very important, and we must get into the habit of doing it. I encourage you to start thinking strategically about your business and start thinking, who can I collaborate with? So for example, let's say you're a caterer. You start thinking of, who else do I share a client pool with? You share a client pool with wedding organizers, with cake makers, with hall decorators, video guys, photographers, those kind of people. That's a whole pool of people that you have the same kind of client base. Why not collaborate with them? Why not tell them, listen, anytime you go out to pitch my services as well, and I will give you a referral fee for any client that comes my way. So that's the kind of thing that you need to do. But you need to look for people who are reliable and who are affordable. Make sure you don't have people who will mess up your name or give shoddy service, because it will come back and bite you and will affect your customer service. So don't let that happen. But look for people who are reliable, responsible, and reputable and affordable, and collaborate with them. Okay, the next thing that you need to do is, I want you to begin to look at your business as a tree. All right, and I'll show you what I mean. Trees, as you know, they grow branches, and on those branches grow stems and leaves and everything like that. I want you to look at your main business as a tree. And your job, I know I've said this in past programs, what I tend to do is to look for one client, deliver a service to that client, and kind of push that client to the side and look for new clients, and that is counterproductive. What you need is repeat business. And the way you repeat business is if you widen the remit of the services that you are able to offer that client. So going back to what I said, that I want you to begin to see your business as a tree and look for how it can sprout. And I'll give you a practical example of some of our businesses. Now, we have a legal magazine called Law Digest. And that magazine is a premier magazine for African lawyers globally. So in the magazine, we have legal articles, we have companies that advertise in it, that kind of thing. We have adverts and stuff like that. So on the back of that magazine, because it's aimed at African lawyers, we decided to start doing conferences, legal conferences in Africa. So the main business was the magazine. Now it's beginning to get branches. So we started doing an annual conference in Africa. Now the conference topic that we chose was asset recovery and international litigation. And so even though the magazine itself is aimed at lawyers, but the conference has a wider remit. So the conference also engaged accountants, asset managers, finance houses, banks, professional associations, those kind of people, government agencies, all those kind of people. So now, even though it's a legal conference, we now have access to a wider group of clients. So can you see how something that started as a magazine, that was the main business, that's the tree, now grew branches, and not only did it grow branches, it now catered for a wider group of people, not just lawyers. So the original target audience was lawyers, but now because it's growing branches, it is appealing to other groups of people. Now, those people that attend the conference, of course, they pay to attend the conference. People want to speak at the conference, they pay to have a speaking slot at the conference. So that's another income stream. Then we have people who have exhibition stands at the conference. They want to plug their products and their services at the conference. They pay to hire those exhibition stands. Then we have sponsors of the event because it looks good, it's very reputable, we have a very good name. So they want to be seen to be associated with our brand. So they want to sponsor the event. We have law firms from all over the world actually that come along and they want to sponsor the event. Not just law firms, we've had property companies, we've had banks and all those kind of people try sponsor the event. So again, that's another income stream. So something that started just as a magazine grew into something that we could never have envisaged, now catering for a completely different set of people. Completely different set of people, and in the process attracting and establishing different income streams from there. From that, we then decided, okay, let's have an award night in recognition of lawyers who are doing something noteworthy, something of worth in their different jurisdictions, developing the legal profession in their particular jurisdiction, their country. So we do that now. Every year we have an award night for African lawyers in Africa. And again, that has started another income stream because, of course, people pay an entry fee to come in. We have sponsorship. Again, that's another another income stream. Again, we have people who have exhibition stands. That's another income stream. We are able to facilitate meetings because a lot of companies come from the West and go to us. So we're able to facilitate meetings, and we charge a fee for that because they need to know who they can meet with in Africa, who they can collaborate with, who's who. We know who's who. We know who's worthy of your time. We know who will make a good collaborator for your business. So we facilitate meetings for them, and we get paid for that as well. So can you see an example of how once you begin to look at your business as the tree that must grow branches, your brain will begin to go into areas, it will go into overdrive and begin to think of things that you would never have normally thought of if you just have tunnel vision in relation to your business. Okay, so the next thing is a lot of people are under the misconception that in order for them to do well in business, they have to have some new, innovative, out-of-this-world idea that nobody's ever thought of before. And believe me, nothing could be further from the truth. You can just put a slant on an old idea. It doesn't have to be something new. Let's go back in time. I'll give a couple of examples, but let's go back in time. Let's look at McDonald's. Now, McDonald's was bought over by Ray Kroc in 1961. And McDonald's in itself existed before he bought it over. But even before, irrespective of McDonald's, what were they selling? They were selling hamburgers. So hamburgers, of course, existed outside of McDonald's. There were hamburger stands all over the place. But one of the things that Roy Kroc did was he brought in the ethos of consistency in the McDonald's brand. So his idea was that whether you go to a McDonald's in London, or whether you go to a McDonald's in Paris, or whether you go to a McDonald's in America, whenever you order a particular product, it should look the same. He said, because until Roy Kroc did that, that wasn't what was happening. If you ask for a beef burger, you're not sure you're going to get here, and there was no uniformity. But he brought in the ethos of consistency and uniformity, and that is what took McDonald's Global. And that is what has been responsible for its global appeal and its success. So the point I'm trying to make is that hamburgers existed before Roy Kroc came along. He didn't, invent the hamburger, but he just put a new slant on an old product or an old concept. Okay, so that's what you need to be able to look at. How can I do something differently as opposed to how can I do something new? It will save you a lot of time, to be honest, if you're able to do that. Now, you must establish your USP, and you've heard me speak about USP before, your unique selling point. And your USP is this. This is how you establish it. If two or more people are selling the same thing, what would make them buy from you rather than buy from me? In other words, what differentiates you in the marketplace? What makes you stand out? What will give you that little bit of in the marketplace? Now, I'll share a couple of my USPs. One of my USPs is the fact that, one, I'm a black woman speaking about wealth creation and entrepreneurship. There are not a lot of black women, not a lot of women, for the start, and definitely not a lot of black women that are occupying my space. So that is my USP. And in this, I have found, particularly in this moment that we're in, this era of Black Lives Matter, suddenly people who would not have given me the light of day, maybe a year ago, maybe even 6 months ago, are suddenly back and wanting my services, are willing to pay, pretty much asking me to name my price, because that is my USP. My USP is that I'm a black woman in the speaking industry, and I speak about wealth creation, and I speak about leadership, that kind of thing. And so now that they need that, they're banging on my door. So you need to look at what makes you different, what differentiates you. And can I say this? Often when I say this to people, people think I'm talking about price. That's not what I'm talking about. When it comes to competition in the marketplace, you don't necessarily have to compete on price. If you are doing a service that adds extra value to people's lives, they are willing to pay for it. It really doesn't matter whether it is just that little bit more expensive. There's nothing like a product that's too expensive. There's nothing like that. You just have to find your client base. There's nothing like a product that is too expensive. So that's about your USP. So let's talk about learning to communicate. Now, I've done about this a lot, but I do that for a reason. As a business person, you must learn to communicate well, particularly in public, about your products and your services. You must learn to communicate clearly, confidently, and consistently about your products. You must be able to do that. Speak in a manner and in a language that your target audience will understand. When I say a language, I'm not talking about whether it's English or Russian or that kind of thing. Speak in a manner that caters for your clients, whoever your target audience is. So speak in a manner that influence them, because that's what we're doing now, influence them into buying your products or your services. If, for instance, you are speaking to young people, then speak their language. All right? Go to where they are on the internet, that kind of thing, but speak their language. If you are speaking to single parents, for instance, if your product caters for single parents, then speak the language of single parents. Okay? So that's the kind of thing. You need to be able to speak confidently about your product. So in order to speak confidently about your product, you must understand your product inside out. You must understand your industry inside out. Don't be the kind of person where I ask you 3 questions about your product and you're umming and you're ahhing and you're telling me you'll get back to me. That does not breed confidence. So you must know your industry inside out. You must be convincing enough to influence me to go and buy your product. You must be convincing enough, and you must be consistent. Your message must be consistent. If you are promoting a high ethos of customer service, then that customer service must be consistent. You mustn't keep falling down on dropping the ball where your customer service is concerned. Okay? So What are the kind of things that you need to do? Now, you need to be a spotter. You need to be a trend spotter. Now, what do I mean by this? I think entrepreneurs are visionaries. I really do. They see what other people don't see. And they're not locked into the moment. You see, a lot of people still dealing with the past. And I'm speaking not just generally with life, but that is true of life, but also in business. Oh, this is the way we've always done it. This is the way we've always done it. So they're locked into that mindset. Others can only today. So, well, this is how we're doing it now, so we'll keep doing that. But I think that real entrepreneurs that have that spirit, that real spirit of entrepreneurship, they're visionaries. They're not really concerned. Well, definitely we've let go of yesterday already, but they're not really concerned themselves with what's going on now. They're looking at what is the next great thing. What are people going to want in the next 5, 10, 15 years? And they're already creating it. They're already creating it. That's what they do. That's what entrepreneurs do. So you need, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you need to develop the skills to be a visionary, to see beyond right now. Okay? So see beyond what people think that they know now. And sometimes part of being a visionary is being able to tell people what they need, because sometimes people don't know what they need. I remember reading something by Henry Ford, and Henry Ford was saying, if I had asked people what they thought they needed by way of transport, they would have told me that they needed faster horses. Because at that time, the main mode of transport was horses. So he said if he had asked people what they wanted or needed, they would have needed faster. But that's not what they needed. They needed a completely different mode of transport. That's what he honed in on. While his counterparts were looking as to how to improve the whole horse riding experience, he was looking at a completely different mode of transport, and that's what he went after. All right, I'm going to take a break here. I want to come back to that point. I haven't finished that point. I do want to come back to that in a minute. But again, just to let you know that you can get in some questions. Some questions have come in already. But please do, when you get in your questions, you can ring us on 07539 661 744. Send us an email at info@Star Radio UK, and we'll ensure that we answer as many questions as possible after the break. So like I said, this is very laid back day today. So just grab your Coke or grab your tea and biscuits, and I'll meet you here after the break. Don't go away.
Hi everyone, it's your girl Bebe Clement, the author of How to Go From Employee to Entrepreneur, and the host of your weekly business show, Bebe Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Star Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Get ready for this.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I hope you've got your tea and biscuits and you've got your Coke or whatever it is that you're drinking. Or if you're drinking something a bit stronger, that's fine. So it's in the afternoon. I won't tell you. But just before the break, I was about the need to be successful in business and to grow your business and to create wealth. So I'm going to come back to that in a minute, but I want to take some questions now. The first question says, thank you for the tips for business. Unfortunately, I missed the beginning of the program. Okay. Would you mind posting the tips on your website and I can download them from there? Oh, okay. Thank you and keep up the great work. Thank you. That's from Palm. Palm, thank you very much. Yes, I'll do that. Special request there. I'll put the tips on my website and you can get them from there. Just the highlights of what we spoke about today and you can get them from there. I'll do that. That was a good idea, actually. Thanks for that, Pam. The second thing was, Dear Bibi, I've just finished reading your book, How to Go from Employee to Entrepreneur, which is quite a riveting read. Oh, thank you very much. I, however, feel that it needs a sequel. Are you considering writing a sequel? And if so, wow, well, if I can find the time, I probably will. But I'm writing another book at the moment, which I will give you details of later in the year. But yes, if I can find the time, I will write a sequel. Thank you very much for that. Okay. Thanks for your advice last week. We're now looking at the future opportunities to invest in, which is both exciting and scary at the same time. Are there tips that you can give on what we should be looking at in making our investment decision? Okay, that's from Trevor. Well, what I'm about to speak about regarding trend spotting might help you in what you might be looking to invest in. So stay with us, Trevor. I've got some tips for you later on with that. Let's see. Thank you, dear Bibi. Thank you for your advice on dealing with my partner. Oh yes, a few weeks ago we had a question from Eniton about his partner. He was saying that his partner was not the lines that they had agreed longer. So thank you for your advice on dealing with my partner. We tried the strategy, different expectations. Okay, he business like one. Given that he has a large portfolio inherited from his father, but the business is my only source of income. Unfortunately, we don't have a partnership agreement, which was a mistake we made at the beginning, never to be repeated. Yes, I'd like to discuss with him going our separate ways before our persistent conflict kills the business and our friendship, which I value. Do you have any strategy that I can adopt to broach the subject of buying him out? He's richer than I am, so I need to ensure that the resolution does not turn on who has the deeper pocket to buy the other one out, as I will lose. Wow, I'm really sorry, and to hear about that kind of business dilemma. It's so sad that kind of thing happens, but it's good that you had the conversation. It's so good that you had the conversation, because now, like you said, it is clear his reasons for not putting his weight are clear. He sees it as a hobby. So I think this is something we can all learn from. When you go into partnership with someone, make sure, and this is not actually the first time I've heard this, I know of somebody else who had exactly the same problem. Make sure that the person you're going into business with is all in like you. And he mentioned something. He said he doesn't have a partnership agreement. That is a huge mistake. Huge mistake. Don't think because you're going into business with a friend or you're going into business with a family member that it's okay for there to be an informal agreement. This is business. It's called business for a reason. It's not friendship. It's not family. It is business. And like he said, now he's under fear that if he's not careful, if this is not handled right, it's not only going to affect the business, but more importantly, it's going to affect the friendship. And so, can I advise that you actually get a professional mediator in? I think that is important, because the mediator will be, he's impassionate, so he's not emotive in this, as indeed both of you will be, and that's what's going to affect your friendship. So doesn't matter how much it costs; they're not that expensive actually. I can speak to you after the show and recommend a couple for you. Ensure that you have a mediator who can talk through this whole thing for you and have strategies for how you can exit the business, whether you exit it or he exits it, how you can exit the business with as little pain as possible. Okay, I'm going to take one more question. Do I have any more? Yes. Right, I have heard so much about the government bounce back loan facility, but I'm still unsure as to whether I should apply for it or not. I'll apply for it. But business is cash positive and I'm wary of taking on loans. But I have been advised that due to the uncertainty in the economy, the more cash that I have, the better my ability to weather the storm. Do you think it is a good strategy to take the loan just to bank it for any rainy day? Yes. Take the loan. Whoever advised you is right, and that's for. Thank you very much for that question. And my advice goes to any other small business that's listening. Take as much as you can. The interest rate at the moment is very, very low. the repayment terms are also quite favorable. And you're so right, cash is king, and cash is going to be even more important in the coming months, even as COVID lifts, because the lockdown is really not the issue. The ripple effects on business is what is really going to affect the businesses. It is a ripple effect. It's not even just the virus itself. The virus itself, of course, has damaged us drastically. But I think that I don't want to be a prophet of doom, but I think the worst is yet to come. So get the cash as much as you can. And if you can find something else to invest it in that will yield an interest while you're waiting to decide what to do with it, then do that. There's no point in it just sitting in the bank. But yes, get as much cash as you can, because you don't know how long this is going to last. And for instance, if you're a company that is currently being propped up by furlough, once furlough is lifted or removed, I'm finally getting a call from a potential client earlier today, whose employer has had to lay him off because they're anticipating that furlough is going to lift, and they don't have enough work to keep him on. So you need to grab a hold of that loan if you can. Like I said, the rates are pretty favorable. It's not very. It's the repayment arrangement is also not cumbersome. So yes, go get it. Okay, so back to what I was saying earlier, being a trend spotter. You must see what I was saying before. You must be on the ground about Henry Ford and how he said if he had asked people what do they need, they said they wanted faster horses, but what they really needed was cars. Now, if you take somebody, for me it seems like yesterday, but now it's a long time ago, the guy that owns Carphone Warehouse, Charles Dunstable. Now, Charles Dunstable, when I first came to the UK in 1989, there was nothing like mobile phones. We didn't have that here. And I think about a year later, he went to, I think he said it was Norway, and he saw people with mobile phones. Now, mobile phones at the time were only owned by companies or industries, and they were very large things. There was nobody operating in the personal telephone space. So he saw them in Norway, and he thought, wow, this technology is really going to catch on. So he bought a dozen, and he came back to the UK. And at the time, because other people were not visionaries, it took him, I think he said it took him 6 months to sell just 12 handsets. But after a while, people began to see the importance of this technology, that, man, I can make phone calls on the go, because prior to that, if you were out and about, you had to queue up in the telephone booth. I mean, it seems alien to our children now, but that's what used to happen. You had to wait outside the telephone booth for somebody to use it if you were out and about, because there was nothing like a mobile phone. But he was a visionary, and he knew it was going to catch on. And so he started buying mobile phones. And then after a while, he set up Carphone Warehouse. And Carphone Warehouse was sold, I think, for 1.3 billion, 1.2 or 1.3 billion, which made him one of the richest men in the UK. Why? Because he was a visionary and he was looking towards tomorrow. So as an entrepreneur, that's what you need to be doing. Now, I want you to also make sure that you're networking. And when I say networking, I don't mean in this situation, I mean I've done a show on networking and I gave tips on how to network. But I mean join networking groups. Don't just attend networking events, but actually become a member of a networking group. It shows commitment, and where there's commitment, people are more likely to help you. Another kind of networking group that people often don't think about, but I think is vital, and I have one, I run one, is a mastermind group. Now, a mastermind group is really just where a group of people, in the business context, a group of business people come together and they put minds together and they just problem solve. So the one that I lead, we meet every 2 weeks and we meet for an hour. We have 10 members, and it's not like a networking group where you're looking for business. That's not what we're doing, although inevitably you will get business as a result. But what we do is we problem solve. So each person says what issue that they're dealing with in their business right now, and all the other members help them solve it. So it might be you want to expand into a particular area that you know nothing about. somebody else knows somebody in that industry, they will connect you, they give you their details. It might be that you're revamping your website, you're not sure what to put on it. We all have a look at the website, we all give our opinion, and you would amend your website based on what we've said. Those kinds of things. So a mastermind group, look around, go online. A mastermind group is vital for people who are serious about business, because business can be lonely and you don't have all the answers. So bringing around people who are going in the same direction as you is an advantage, but people who can sharpen your iron and you can do the same to them is so crucial to your business success. So ensure that you network and join a mastermind group if you can. I mean, there's so many advantages. You get industry tips. Of course, your knowledge increases. Opportunities arise. There are opportunities that happen that we don't bring to the public domain. We don't. We just do it amongst ourselves. So you get, well, I don't use the term insider information, but you get information that's not necessarily available to everybody. And those bits of information can make or break your business and can catapult you into business success. So it's important that you're around the same kind of people who are going in the same direction as you. Okay. And again, because you don't know who they know, when you look at somebody, don't see just them. See a whole network. See them as a door, because you don't know who they know. You don't know who they know. I mean, some of them, the people that I've met that you would not think have major connections, their network is unbelievable. Unbelievable. I remember last year there was a lady I knew who heard me speak somewhere, and she was really impressed with the way I spoke, and she said, "There's somebody I need." I mean, there's nothing majorly fantastic about it. She said, "There's somebody I need to meet." The person she introduced me to, oh my God, the network that guy had, and he opened a whole door to me in Africa, where my services probably would never have been heard of. My association with him has opened all kinds of doors for me. So yes, it's really important. Okay, now you need to keep your overhead low and your profit high. Keep your overhead low and your profit high. I'm always thinking of, what can I do without? What can I do without? What can I remove by way of cost? So if you're just going into business, for instance, you need to be cutting out your overhead as much as possible. So look at something like Uber. Uber does not own, even though it's a taxi company, Uber does not own a single taxi. Now, they could have done it the traditional way and gone and bought a fleet of taxis, but they do not own a single taxi. Airbnb, that provides space for you, places where you can stay, short stays in different countries, and for your traveling and stuff like that. They don't own a single hotel or a single B&B. They don't. So their overhead is minimal. Minimal. So once your overhead is minimal, that means the more money you get to keep. So you need to be looking at ways in which you can do business that keeps your overhead low. Take a leaf out of their book. Make your business one that provides a platform. So think about that. I don't know what it is that you want to go into. It might just be cakes. Let's say cakes. You want to be selling cakes. Perhaps just providing a platform for different people to be able to showcase their cakes is what you need to be doing, rather than going to get a shop where you have to have customers come to your shop to order your cakes. That kind of thing. So that's keeping your overhead low and your profit high. Now, this is an important one, I think. Connect with young people. Connect with young people. Now, this is important, particularly if you're anything over 40, I would encourage you to do this. Because let me tell you, if you haven't noticed already, the kind of world that you think you are in and the kind of world that actually exists by way of the experience of these young people is totally different. The world as we knew it has disappeared almost. It has disappeared. The things that these young people, I was speaking to one of my mentors this week, and we were discussing this. The things that these young people are doing, but specifically by way of technology, is scary. You know, the whole concept of you slugging away for years and years and years at your business idea is becoming alien to them. There was my mentor was telling me about a young lady that she knew who was in her early 20s who was trying to get a job. I think she studied architecture and she was trying to get a job, but she couldn't. So in the meantime, in her spare time, she's very fashionable. So she has these crazy hairstyles and she's very fashionable. So she likes to take pictures. So she'd take pictures and she'd post them, and then she'd go somewhere and talk about where she was, and then talk about the clothes that she was wearing, and online. She was doing this on Instagram and online. And one of the major companies, I'm not going to mention the name of the company, contacted her because they could see her. I mean, her followership was ridiculous. I mean, she now has about 100,000 people, I think, following her. And all she's doing is taking pictures of herself and speaking about the places that she goes to, because she travels a lot. She likes traveling. So they contacted her and said could they collaborate with her? Because collaborating with her means that they now have access to 100,000 people. And so they did. They collaborated with her. Now, I know another lady who had, I think, about 1,000, 2,000 followers with what she was doing, and then she sent the details of what she was doing to one of these internet influencers, and that one put her on his platform. A minute that put her on his platform, that was it. Her followership grew by about 80,000 in a week because he was an influencer. And he was a door. He opened her to a world of people that she would never normally have met. So connect with young people. They're doing things like, we have 15-year-olds who are creating apps and becoming millionaires. They understand the technology of business in a way that we don't. Just before I came on the show, my son showed me something online that I just couldn't believe. I'd never seen it before. And it's going to do wonders for the way I do my presentations. So connect with young people. Get a group of young people, maybe 3 or 4 of them, and walk them through your business. Show you what is antiquated in your methodology. Let them show you what they don't even understand in your methodology or in your marketing. Let them show you what today's or tomorrow's client is going to be looking for, so that you can grow. The concept of this is how it's always done it, that's not going to work anymore. You've got to be able to evolve. You've got to be able to change if you're going to survive and thrive. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to bring the show to a close, but I just want to end with this. One of the things that you need to do is you need to build a good reputation in your business. Your customer service must be top-notch as a given, not as an add-on, as a given. It must be top-notch. But more importantly, you must have integrity in your business. Because integrity in business goes to trust. And trust is a greater currency than money when it comes to business. It goes to trust. So you must have integrity. People must be able to say, if I give my business to Bebe, I know if I do this Bebe, I know I get a result. If I ask Bebe to do something, I know her customer service will be top notch. People need to be able to say that about your business. You must build a great reputation. If I go to Bebe, she's the go-to person in her industry. If she can't solve it, it can't be solved. Those are the kind of things that you need to have people say about you. And in order to find out what people ask about you, do some market research. Every year, I pick a percentage of my clients and I send out a questionnaire. And I'm very ruthless with this. I don't pick out people who I think are going to tell me nice things. I do a cross culture of people and businesses that have come in contact with me and have hired me, and ask them certain questions about the business and about the service they received, and if they were not happy with something, why weren't they happy? If they weren't happy, were we able to fix what they weren't happy about? That kind of thing. And from there, you can grow. From there, you can improve. From there, you can get better. And from there, you build a good reputation. make sure that you have a good reputation in your business. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for coming along today. I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, it was on purpose that we made it kind of laid back today. Just gave you some good tips. You've been listening to Bebe Means Business, and I'm your host, Bebe Clement, and I'm the author of How to Go from Employee to Entrepreneur, which you can purchase online at Amazon for £12.99. Or if you go to my website, you can also get it for the same price there. My website is www.bbclement.com. And just like Anyton said, I will have the tips that I shared today. I will have them on the website during the week, so you can go and have a look there. You can refresh your memory. But we also do send out the podcast as well. So if you'd like me to send you the podcast, just email me at bb@bbclement.com. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great week. Stay safe. Go make some money. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Hi everyone, it's your girl Bebe Clement, the author of How to Go from Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show,